This is EB3, speaking the truth in love, and I just come on for a few minutes to give you guys a word of encouragement. So this morning I want to talk about communication, and I think I'm gonna do a few videos about communication here and there. So one of the things I want to say is when you're having a conversation with someone, it is not a conversation if only one person can get their point across. In other words, so many people that I have come across in my life, as you all know, I'm in my 50s now, and but what you don't know is I've always been a listener and an observer of people. So many times, whether we're talking to our spouse, the person on the street, in the marketplace, on our jobs, um, our children. So many times we are talking to get our point across. We're not talking to actually communicate. In order to communicate, one person talk, and that person listens, stops and listens to the next person. And in order to really communicate, then you've got to try to talk to somebody and not just get your point across, but try to learn from that person. Try to figure out where they're coming from, their viewpoint. Because the thing is, we all come from different backgrounds. A place where we understand that because we all come from different backgrounds, because we've all had different things that we have overcome or we are in the process of overcoming, we all have a view. Now, everybody's view is not right, but everybody has something to contribute because there's, no matter what your background is, there's something that you have learned. You've learned some type of lesson that you can pass on to the next person. Hopefully you've actually learned a lesson, because sometimes we go through things over and over and over and over and over because we have not learned a lesson. But if you have truly learned a lesson, and we've all, whether you're a saint or a sinner, we've all learned some type of lesson that we can convey to the other person and keep somebody else from going down that path. Well, in the midst of doing that, it takes, you have to have the ability to understand that you don't know everything. We don't. First of all, we don't come here knowing everything. Everything that we do know, somebody has taught us on some type of level, whether they were trying to teach us or not. You know, there's some people in your life that have taught you not to do things because it didn't work out for them, if you were paying attention. And then there's some lessons that, and there's some lessons people taught you by allowing you to go through certain things, right? But at any rate, you have to, of course, get the person's attention, but you have to also give your attention to the other person when you are communicating, when you are trying to have a conversation. A conversation is not an argument. A conversation is not necessarily a debate. A conversation is two people coming together, talking about a subject or more than one subject, and each person giving their ideas about the situation. Now, where the argument comes in is one or both of the people in the conversation, or if it's a group conversation, everybody is trying to give out what they know, how they feel, how it affects them, and not taking the time to try to figure out the other person's viewpoint. Because, okay, let's just take a simple topic like whether you allow your children to do sleepovers, right? I didn't. So my viewpoint for not allowing my children to do sleepovers is because, in my opinion, and in my lessons that I've learned as a child growing up, everybody that keep your children or allow your children to come over to their house does not like the parent. People will say things in front of you and say something different behind your back. Oftentimes, whenever my mom would allow me to stay over somebody's house, and allow me to stay over people's house, I've heard the adults say, I don't know why she always dropping that girl over here. That's her child. That's her responsibility when she leave. But before she left, oh, we don't mind keeping Niecy. That's our girl. That's our baby. You see what I mean? So people don't always want to be bothered with your children. And so for me, I did not want to put what I felt like my responsibility, my blessings from the Lord, off on anybody else. So I didn't do sleepover. That's one reason. The second reason is because the first one is really babysitting and sleepovers. Because a lot of times the people that babysit you, they have children as well. Now I'm not talking about like family, because when I grew up, if I had an aunt or uncle in the vicinity, hey, we all the kids might be over there, like especially my auntie. I won't say her name because I didn't get her permission, but my auntie that is my mom and her was pregnant at the same time. They always shared, though, especially when we were real little. They always babysitted each other's children. When one going to work or one going to have a date or whatever their life things that they were going through, they always shared responsibility. That's a different situation. But the other thing is, the one thing that I learned is everybody that go to church does not live exactly like you live. Everybody that's in the school that go to school with you. In other words, there's no way for you, no matter how good you're friends with somebody, no matter how much you love them, no matter how long you've known them, people aren't the same. People aren't necessarily, this is not a 100% thing, but people are not necessarily the same behind closed doors as they are in public. And so because of that, you don't really know fully what somebody believes. You don't know fully what they allow their children to do. And so, and you don't know if they will talk against you the way you've chosen to bring up your children. You don't know any of those things. So for me, I never allowed my children to do sleepovers. My baby boy, he's never spent the night over anybody's house whatsoever. My two oldest, my oldest godmama, when he was really little, sometimes I think he stayed over her. But I know she kept him like the first week that I had my second boy. And of course, my sister, I would allow my sister to keep them, but they never stayed overnight. It just never worked out like that. But my sister, my dad, and their godmom, and then my godmom kept my oldest boy, and my middle boy. So yeah, that is it. I did not allow my children to be over all these different people's houses just because I was friends with you, or if they went on a church trip. If I couldn't be there, then they couldn't be there. That was just a rule in my house. But that's because of the things that I experienced, and I don't share everything that I experienced, because one day, maybe some point I will. But I said that all to say is somebody else has a totally different viewpoint because they did not experience the childhood that I had. And they feel like they actually know people because, again, they did not experience the childhood that they experienced everybody was good people. They never found nothing bad ever happened to them when they spent the night over other people's houses. People showed them that they loved them and they enjoyed them being there. And the thing about it is the people that kept me and the people that I don't they weren't all of them weren't necessarily bad people, because there were some true saints that I spent the night over their houses, or I was at their house when my mama was at work, or all these different things that adults do when they're raising children as single parents, But the thing is, again, I have always been willing to listen to the other person's viewpoint of why they allow their children to do that, and in any other subject. Now, the other thing is, if you are witnessing to someone, then you also have to, if they give you like like they don't want to listen to it, or they don't believe it, or whatever, you have to give them that space as well. Any subject that you can think about, in order for it to be communication, both of you have to be able to give their viewpoint. And I think a lot of times the reason why we don't get conflicts resolved is because we don't have actual communications. What we have is two people spitting out what they believe and how it should be and talking over each other. And a lot of times, when I'm on the outside looking in on conversations, a lot of times both of you are saying the same thing. Both of you are saying the same thing, but your communication skills may be a little bit different. Or you may phrase it. In other words, you may phrase it a little different. Because again, we all have different backgrounds. We all have different slang language. We all have, some of us talk more from a biblical point of view. Some talk more of a secular point of view. But some talk more of an atheist point of view, right? So it really depends on your worldview, your experiences, and how you felt like, whether you were heard and seen as a child. All these things combined make you the type of communicator you are. And so sometimes we have to step back and realize that, number one, like I said before, we don't know everything. We're learning every day. And if you have gotten to a point where you feel like you know everything, nobody can't teach you anything, you're at that point in your life where it's all about your opinion. It's all about what you and how you feel. Nobody else's feeling, nobody else's opinion counts, then you have a problem. And you probably need to seek therapy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you definitely, if you're a Christian, if you're a child of God, if you have given your life to Jesus Christ, then you most definitely need to pray and seek God's face. Find out what is it in you, what kind of hurt that you have, that you feel like you have to be combative. Because being combative is not communicating. Being combative is saying, I am right. Nobody else is right. I can't learn from you, but you can only learn from me. And that's not what we want to be. We want to be forever learners, right? We want to give other people grace, even, because, we want to give everybody grace. We want to be forever learners. We want to give everybody grace. But we want to hold fast to our core beliefs, even as we learn and grow. But hold fast to your core beliefs, the things that you know about God, the things that you know about what works. Hold fast to those things. But when you're communicating them with other people, understand that they come from a different background. Sometimes they come from deep wounds. Sometimes they've had so many things that happen to them that it's just a blessing that they can communicate it all. But give grace. Allow somebody else to speak and attentively listen. Anyway, I just want to give you all that nugget because mainly because of what I've seen over the years and what I've seen here recently a lot more. I think a lot of times we have more in common than we have differences. It's just, again, the way we were brought up. We are, to some degree, a product of our environment. And we are also a product of the things that we've learned since we've become an adult. And we are a product of the things that we've learned from God if we have a relationship. And the things that we learned from trial and error, as I say. Anyway, this has been EB3, speaking the truth in love. Be blessed, be a blessing. And remember, to communicate, there has to be a conversation between at least two people or more, but everybody in the conversation has to have their time to speak in order for it to be an actual conversation. And there is a difference between a regular conversation where you just conversing ideas, a debate, and an argument. And sometimes a conversation can lead to an argument if we are not patient enough to listen to one another and try to figure out where each one of us come from and try to learn from each other and give each other grace. Anyway, be blessed, be a blessing. Again, as always, I got to go to work. God loves you, and so do I, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm out.